Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm here in Mystic, Connecticut at the Wooden Boat Show, and it's been a great weekend so far. So this is Saturday morning here. It's about, it's 10 o'clock here. So anyway, what I want to do is just kind of walk around and give you a sense of what the boat show is about. Certainly I can't show you everything because it's a pretty big venue. It's here at the Mystic Seaport, which anytime you're in the Mystic, Connecticut area, it's a worthwhile stop here. They always have wooden boats here, and they have a whole workshop where they're restoring some major boats. So let me turn this around and we'll go for a little walk. So as you walk in, there's actually some interesting boats. I mentioned in my last video about Artisan Boat Works, and this is their booth, and this is a couple of Herreshoffs that they have restored. Now the one that's probably of most interest to me is the 12.5 footer, which is right here, and it's a boat called Pumpkin, and they've finished the restoration on it. And so it's interesting. When I looked at it, it almost looked like a new boat, but in reality you can see there still are some of the old hardware and things on it. Anyway, beautiful boat. I'm assuming that the mast is somewhere else because they don't have it up today. So and as we move on around here, you can see there is lots and lots of booths that range from a lot of different things. Some of them are things that are, just vaguely boat related. I can see this first one here has, looks like flags for your boat. And on down the line here, there are people that make jewelry. So it's a little bit like a nautically themed,
I've been walking around. I got here before the doors
I'd say nautically themed market, I guess. So, but some of the things are of interest when you're working on a boat. For example, this fellow here has these interesting looking mallets and hammers, and inside the booth he's got lots of pieces and tools that are restoration pieces, or we can go in here a little bit and see that he's got hand planes and all kinds of things. Looks like a whole table of hand planes. So if you're looking for some good used tools, I mean, check this out. There's a nice little bin full of all kinds of little treasures in there. So yeah, so but like I said, there's some things that are just simply, nautically related. This woman makes pillows for your lake house. But there are some of the things that are of interest to me here are where they've got some old pieces that a lot of boat builders, including some of my friends that were here, were looking for a specific part for their boat. So there are always booths like this that handle older things. So in fact, I have to come back and check this out. Looks like a sextant, it's a little bit like a slide ruler now, I guess. Really don't need one. Yeah, so artwork and so forth. So now one of the things that is interesting back here is an area that's called Build It Yourself. And all of these boats are backyard boat builders for the most part. None of them are professionals. This boat right here, speaking with, I think his name, I don't remember his name, but anyway, it's, so we'll talk to him here for a second. Oh, he's walking away. Well, let me show you. So this is a strip built boat. One of the things that I really like about it is that shear line. That's really kind of the shear line that I was looking to put on my Haven. So let's take a look up inside. That's really, really nicely done. It's gaff rigged. So here's the.
Well, that's a compliment.
Yeah. So I'm live on YouTube right now.
You are?
Yeah. I forget your name. I'm sorry.
Paul Cutt.
Paul.
Yep.
So Paul, could you just tell us just briefly a little bit about your boat here?
Yeah, I sure can. So just before I retired, I knew I needed a retirement project, so I started taking classes up at Wooden Boat School, making small boats, and I realized one day that I would have a yard full of small boats if I kept doing that. So I decided to make the biggest boat my shop would handle. So my doors in my shop is 7 feet wide. The shop's 33 feet long. And this is a Crown and Shield Camden class knockabout. It's 28 feet long. It's 6'6" wide, so it just barely fits in my shop. And to maintain sanity over 6 years, I would go down to the shop in the morning, work, and then at 12 o'clock it's like the factory whistle blew. I put down all my toys, all my tools, and come upstairs and have a normal life after that. And I think that kept me and my wife sane as I did the project. The boat was designed in 1915. I started building it in 2015. It took me 6 years. And I'm really happy to say that A, it didn't sink, and B, it balances beautifully, and it's a wonderful boat to sail.
Fantastic. And it's strip built, right?
This is strip built. Yes,
Right.
a strip.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, well done.
Thank you.
And
Bob.
thanks,
Thank
Paul. Yeah, so and there's a whole nother aisle down here of more things, but let me show you a couple of more boats that are here. So this is it's called Bell. It's easier just to show you what it is. Yeah. So it's a 22-foot boat. It's also strip planked. And then we've got a couple of plywood lapstrake boats over here. In years past, there's been a lot more build-it-yourself boats out here. It just seems to be a bit of a thin year this year. So we'll walk on down the aisle here and see what we've got. So somebody's calling me. So. Hi.
On TV, yeah?
Yep, I'm live on YouTube.
I'm Rick Smith, live?
Yeah.
Okay. Where are the YouTube guys going to be?
We're over there, just on the other side of the Oyster House. Yeah.
On Oyster House?
Yeah, right over here. You can see our
It
tent
says
from here.
Australia Beach, but
No,
I
it's,
haven't seen anybody over
see
there.
the two tents? The second one is ours.
Ah,
Okay,
okay,
yeah.
you're in it.
Yeah, come see us later, okay? One of the things about having a YouTube channel is you get recognized very easily at a boat show. Especially if you wear a Art of Boat Building shirt.
Yeah, that's an expensive boat. There's a lot of material in there. Very pretty.
So this is a heritage boatyard company, and so they're showing kind of some of the boats that they recreate. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff you can just walk past, unless you're interested in ballpoint pens and T-shirts and that kind of thing. So, now yesterday, Ann B from Acorn to Arabella showed you some of the boats out in the harbor. So, if you're interested in that, you should go and check out their live stream on Acorn to Arabella. So here's some actually laser cut molds, which are pretty interesting. And I also found these castings were really interesting. Of course, you know, being a caster. So this is an example of this would be the pattern. So this would be rammed up in sand, and it's already designed so that it has the core can go through there. And then this, you can see here, is the casting for it. Looks like a raw casting. So, but they've got a couple of other examples here of some patterns that they've made. It looks like you made the pattern from this original one here. Is that what you did? No?
We built it out of, this is a 3D printed, improved model of it. I mean,
Okay.
we built back up the flanges, which are all rusted.
Oh,
away.
sure. Yeah, so, whoop. Lost my power. So, yeah, so this is then the casting, finished casting, right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so as we walk on down here, I hope I still have you. I might have lost you. No, maybe not. But, it's hard to see the screen in the sunshine here. We'll walk on down the aisle here. It's a really nice little beetle cat right here. Wooden Boat has a big area where they sell all of their merchandise. And yeah. So it's, as you see, the show opens at 9 o'clock. You can see it gets pretty busy pretty quick, especially on a Saturday like this. So it's a Chesapeake Lightcraft. It's right in front here is a beautiful Nick-shotted bootlegger. And some of you may be familiar, Chesapeake Lightcraft make stitch and glue kits. And then this here is Davies and Company, and they have all kinds of rigging parts. And there's Captain Bob here who has helped me get some parts for my Haven, the sail team. Yeah. So could you just give them a brief idea about what Davies and Company do?
R&W Rope has been around for 30 years. It's a distributor for traditional rigging, hardware, bronze, all kinds of rope, both synthetic and natural. And we supply all across the country, down in the Caribbean, and Canada, for traditional vessels from, small Harrowshaw 12.5s all the way up to big schooners. We supply rope to Coast Guard Bark Eagle and Oliver Harriswood Perry and Pride of Baltimore too. Vessels like that. Yeah. So we do a lot of that.
Yeah, and earlier we had talked about that you're helping Steve rig Acorn, or I should say rig Arabella.
Yes, yeah. They've come down and met us and our riggers at the shop in New Bedford and had a couple-hour conversation, and we have their rigging plans, and so I've just given them some feedback and recommendations on what we think the rig may need if they're going to do the kind of voyaging that they speak of.
Yeah, cool. Good to see you again, Bob.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, take care. We'll just show a little bit about some of the pieces in here that they have. As you can see, I have all these shackles and all these sheaves, turnbuckles, and of course all kinds of rope. So, but now, speaking of Arabella, I want to come down here, and I think Steve should be here at our booth. Yeah, and so here's
most of it came from the property, but we got some white
Is
cedar
Ann?
from Eastern Mass.
Hey, Bob.
And we got
Hello.
some black locust from Cape Cod in Connecticut.
This is the hottest wood.
Yeah, it's the hardest wood. Yeah. Actually, live oak's harder.
The hardest wood would be a good name for like a memoir about boat building.
Building the hardest wood. Yeah.
I don't know why you're thinking about.
Yeah, I'm here too. Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You didn't bring your boat this year.
No, not this year.
No,
Nope.
well.
Maybe next year.
Well,
I'll bring a boat next year. How's that?
Okay.
A boat.
I'll bring a boat. I may not bring the boat I'm working on now, but I bring a boat.
Yeah, Bob's gonna build the tender for Arabella.
Oh,
So that's part of the reason he didn't bring the boat is that he's going to come by after the show and pick up all of the cedar and mahogany and tamarack leaves from Victoria and bring them back to his shop and build the tender for us.
I'm looking for that other fellow from
From
Rhode Island, from Bristol, Rhode Island, Lou.
Lou Sazed, I don't know if he's here or not. I haven't seen
he's
him.
not here this year.
Online, the last
No.
boat I see him
So-
building online.
so
Is that
Ann?
Parashaw, something 12 foot.
Oh, it's such pleasure meeting.
The name
it's great to meet you as well.
Wait for everyone
That's it.
to watch. I mean, it's the best
That's
thing on
it.
TV going on right now.
Thank you. That's great to hear.
So you're better at handling this, if
Oh,
you don't
sure.
mind.
I will do that. Hi,
Okay.
this is Anne's face. Now we're going. She's elusive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna be on TV as well,
Yeah,
right?
you
Yeah,
are.
for a minute there.
You signed a waiver, didn't you? Yeah, so of course Steve just mentioned what my announcement for the next boat will be, and it's going to be the tender for Arabella. And if you want to know, now we're just going to talk about it briefly here, but if you want to know really in depth about how we're going to change the plans and so forth, you should go over to Acorn to Arabella's channel. And the most recent video up should be their live video from yesterday. And we had a discussion with John Harris,
Yep.
from Chesapeake Lightcraft, who gave us some really great advice on how to shrink or expand the Atkins plans. So Steve has procured two plans. One is called Handy Andy, and this one is Faye. Faye is 10 feet long, and Handy Andy is 8 feet long.
And we're aiming for 9. So we can either shrink Faye or increase Handy Andy. And they're such similar boats. They're the same breadth. They have the same draft. That kind of, according to John, shrinking one up or shrinking one or enlarging the other would be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And the transom's a little steeper on Faye. And a couple of the lines are just ever so slightly different that we like better. So we're going to try to shrink Faye.
So you should tell them why we want to shrink it.
Yeah. So part of the issue with the hard tender is where you put it on the boat. And we're going to have to put it on top of the house. So we've got the companionway, we've got the main traveler, and we've got the main mast, which are all kind of in the way. So an 8-foot boat would fit no problem, but it's pretty small. A 10-foot boat won't quite fit, but it would be really nice to have that extra space. So if we shrink her to 9 feet, we should be able to have it fit on the housetop pretty comfortably.
Yeah. So that's the challenge. We'll have to imagine. Well, I'm gonna have to do a new line drawing, line plan for it. So a little more than what I thought I was going to be doing, but still, I'm up to the challenge. But one of the exciting things is, tell them what the name of the boat will be.
Yep. So we're gonna name the boat Victoria after Victoria. So we took apart a 1926 Atkin Eric that was built out of cedar and old growth Honduran mahogany. And when we decommissioned her for all the bronze and brass hardware, we also saved as much of the mahogany and the cedar and her tamarack knees as we could possibly get. And we've been sitting on those, as well as a beautiful bronze nameplate for Victoria. And the intent was to build the tender out of all that material and name the tender Victoria in honor of Victoria. And building the tender was something that was always near and dear to my heart. And these resources, old growth Honduran mahogany doesn't really exist. Cedar like this doesn't really exist anymore. It's really hard to come by. And there's just all the history with Victoria and carrying that on. So I've had a lot of people over the years ask to build the tender, and I've turned every one of them down because it was so important to me. But I've got to know Bob over the years. He's come out and worked in Arabella, and he's obviously a very talented craftsman and artist. And when he reached out and said that he was wrapping up the Haven and needed a project and what our plans were for the tender, I was over the moon, because Bob is absolutely someone that I trust to say, here's this material that we literally cannot replace, that is full of screw holes and other defects that we need to work around and utilize. And Bob's someone that I think will honestly do a nicer and better job with it than I would. I know that I'm going to beat the living tar out of the tender, so I would have a real hard time making it gorgeous, but as Bob says, it can start beautiful. And so I can't wait to see what he does.
Yeah. So no pressure at all. But yeah, so Steve's given me a timeline of year-ish.
Year-ish?
So I think I should be able to accomplish that pretty well. So
and
anyway.
I think one of the other real fun things, and I can't wait to see this on your channel, is that this boat was drawn in what was it,
1933, I think. Yep.
So it's plank on frame with bent oak ribs and canvas covered. And we're going to take these plans and not only shrink them, but modernize it. So we're going to ditch most of the frames, we're going to strip build, we're going to glass, we're going to epoxy. And the goal for that is to build the lightest, most rugged tender that we possibly can, and basically take these materials that they didn't have in the 1930s and apply them to this design. So we still can use Atkin's beautiful lines and all of his knowledge in the shape of the boat, but we can build it lighter and tougher than he was able to with the materials at the time.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Before we came down to the show, I stopped. I pulled my trailer out here and I stopped in Granby and said hello to Arabella, and then we started looking at materials, and so many questions I had in my mind, and I'm sure it was in Steve's mind too, just started falling into place. It's like, oh, you have Hackensack knees. Oh, you've got all this mahogany. Oh, we can do this, we can do this, and do this. We can make the seats out of that. Oh, we could throw a little, we can make the rub rails out of black locust. And so we have
so many fun woods to play with.
Yeah,
so many fun woods. Yeah.
So though I'm enjoying myself here at the show, I'm really looking forward that we're both going to go back to Granby and we're going to start loading up that trailer with boat making material.
And I'm psyched for that too, because I get all that cedar and mahogany out of the shop,
your
and I
way.
get some more room.
I was thinking I'm going to need to kind of like work my storage area around a little bit.
What will the collaboration look like on the channels? So in other words, what will people expect to see, either from our end or from Bob's end? Like, what do you plan on doing to tell the story about the tender as it's being built?
Yeah. So I think the plan right now, because I'm a bi-weekly channel, and I always come out on Saturday. Steve's videos come out weekly on Friday. So probably what will happen is every other week on Steve's channel on Friday, he will say, and so what's Bob been doing?
Yeah.
And it'll be a brief, probably,
Yeah, I would imagine,
but just
5
kind of
to 10 minutes,
an
depending on
overview.
what Bob's doing.
And then if you really want to see what I really did in the last 2 weeks, then you can go to my channel the next day and you'll see the full episode of me lofting it or strip planking it or cutting the strips or whatever I'm doing at that time. So so it should be
an awesome
fun.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
And as far as collaborating too, so you mentioned about materials and everything else, but will there be a lot of talking back and forth about it?
Oh, no doubt about that. No doubt about that, because it's very clear we both know how to talk.
Yeah, and like we said,
and you throw a boat in there, and it's like it's never ending. So.
And there's so many modifications that we can do. There's so many little tweaks that we can make. And then having the ear of John Harris from Chesapeake Lightcraft is incredible, because for Bob and I, we know how to build this and we have got an idea of materials and how to utilize them, but how big should the strips be? We don't really know. How many layers of glass should we put on? We don't really know. How many frames can we really ditch? Not really sure. And that's where John Harris's expertise really comes in, and he can tell us. And he did when we did the live yesterday. We went over that quite a bit. And
everything from station molds to final finish and stuff like that.
Yeah, how to scale it
down to even what weight cloth we should use.
Yeah.
So it was really informative. So if any of you did not see that, make sure you go over and watch that.
You get to see collaborative boat building in the process.
Yeah.
That was a real conversation that we had.
Yeah.
It was. That was not unscripted and really real.
Yeah, and I had never met John at the time. So
and we had talked to John briefly at the Annapolis Boat Show last year about the plans, and we had brought 3 sets of plans and we're trying to narrow it down, and John helped us do that.
Choose it.
And then KP and I went back to the yard and we pulled out the measurements for Faye and made some rough templates and pulled measurements on the house and talked about how we can arrange the house so that we can get the tender on there and what we need to do to the tender. And so it's been already a little bit of an ongoing collaboration.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we failed to mention is it will be a sailing dinghy. In addition, it can be a rowing dinghy. So there will be an entire sail plan and mast and all of that. And also, as we discussed, because Steve has a nice supply of ash that I'll probably make the oars for it also.
Yeah, we can do some nice ash oars, which
Yeah.
will be a bit on the heavy side, but at the same time, they'll be really rugged,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is
you
good
won't-
because we're gonna beat
because
them up.
then if you hit a rock, and it's not going to hurt it. Yeah.
I keep a set of ash along with my, like I have 2 sets,
Yeah.
for my dinghy, because
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think ash is a good choice. And you know, oars do float.
Yep.
So the heaviness does get lost a little bit.
But
And you know what? This guy, even though he may not look big, he is stronger than crap. When I was out there
Yeah.
and we were milling black locusts for the shelves, he's like, "Okay, grab that in," and I'm like, "Ugh." And Steve's like, "You got it?" You know? And one day he says, "Oh, how do you feel?" And I said, "Like I'm 66 years old." And he's like, "Fair enough." So anyway, I'm not worried about Steve not being strong enough to row the boat. So.
Fish Eater says, 2 of my favorite channels. Bob was teasing about his next boat and fantastic homage to Victoria. Love you guys.
oh, thank you.
Fantastic.
And Dan Parfit says, I was hoping there would be a follow-up to the Haven project, so looking forward to this.
Oh, good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
Excellent.
great. So we've got about 3 minutes left, because Bobby said you wanted to go about 30 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's ish.
Yeah, ish.
Ish.
So if anybody has any final questions, let us know. So when do you think we can expect to start seeing videos about this?
That's a really good question. I would say in a month.
In about a month.
Yeah, in about a month, because I think my first step will be call my friend Paul Gartside, who is one of the premier naval architects, and say, "Paul, how do I shrink or how do I do that?" And he'll give me some instruction on how to get started.
Paul is phenomenal.
He's really a great guy, and I met Paul when I was out at the wooden boat school, and I took the yacht design class from him. So
I was just about to mention that he teaches. If anyone's interested in yacht design, Paul
Yes.
Gartside is an amazing instructor.
yeah, and it's a really fantastic week to spend with him, and the most approachable guy you'd ever come across. So anyway, it's going to be not just this collaboration, but we're going to pull lots of people into it. So yeah, cool. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
So goodbye from Mystic, and we'll see you again soon.
I'm gonna show him the water.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
So I built